Okay guys, so here is the update on what happened at the end of the week in Korea regarding the whole battle between HYBE and the New Jeans creator Min Hee-jin. Yes, the court had its first hearing in the injunction suit filed by Min Hee-jin, which basically means that she wants to block HYBE from exercising its authority as the 80% shareholder in ADOR to basically fire her butt, kick her to the curb, and then move on with the future of K-pop. And reports up until Friday were saying that most likely they were just gonna also have a decision then, but no. Not at all. It was chock full of drama, and in a very rare move, I would say, we actually got some of the details of the documents that they submitted. And it was basically like, tell me you sent out a press release without sending a press release. So you know when the appetizer can be a bit more substantive than the main dish? Well, that's what we sort of got this week in Korea on Friday when court was in session over the question of an injunction, which basically means stop it. So Min Hee-jin, she's the one that wants HYBE to stop it. Stop what? Fire her butt at the end of the month on May 31st. So the main dish right now is May 31st. That is when everybody agreed that the ADOR board of directors would meet. And Min Hee-jin didn't want to meet, but the auditor, who is now on the board of directors, because HYBE has 80%, so they can have a seat, and they have 80% of the say, 80% of the vote. And everybody knows that when they meet, they're gonna vote to fire Min Hee-jin. So what Min Hee-jin is doing is trying to prevent people to get to the main dish. She wants everybody to get full on appetizers and unlimited drinks, and maybe like it's the Olive Garden, like unlimited breadsticks and salad. That's what she's trying to do with this injunction, to basically have the court say, no, HYBE, you're not allowed to exercise your 80% voting rights because you're gonna fire Min Hee-jin. And Min Hee-jin's argument is that if this happens, then the health of the company ADOR is going to suffer because I am ADOR, ADOR is me. And she's basically saying, I am New Jeans, New Jeans is me. And so that's what she's trying to convey, although at the same time they have evidence saying that she deliberately wants to destroy the value of ADOR. So usually in this kind of situation, it's very anticlimactic because the case that each side makes is just usually all on paper. And you don't really, it's not Judge Judy, okay? Judge Judy has ruined the general American public sense of, like how court works, because hers is not even real court. Yes, she says it's real cases, but it's essentially, arbitration, outside of the court. She shouldn't even really be putting on a robe or anything like that. Anyhow, so it's usually all done on paper and you can make statements, but of course, in this kind of situation, you want to make a ton of statements. You want to, present a lot to make your side. It becomes more of a show. And usually we wouldn't hear or see what really happens in the court documents to this level, but I think HYBE pulled a very, very strategic and smart maneuver, because I think the lawyers did know that some of the things that they presented aren't necessarily going to target the actual legal question, same way that Min Hee-jin is doing all sorts of songs and dances that actually don't go into the main show, okay? What HYBE did was release a lot of information and a lot of evidence that they got, and it was somewhat unclear. Did they get the laptop or did they not? I don't think they actually said that we have the laptop, but they did say that we compiled this evidence through cloud data that basically is the companies. And so if you're using the company computer, you're using the company technology resources, then that data gets collected. And when you sign your employment contract, you give consent that that data is going to be the property of HYBE. So they got, now this is the thing, Min Hee-jin's side thought that they were safe by not using the company messaging portal, because the company messaging portal is just an easy way to monitor conversations among your employees and make sure they're not doing anything shady. So they thought they were okay with using KakaoTalk. Now that sort of might be the case, but most Korean people, they will download KakaoTalk onto their computers and have it synced with their phone. So it's just much easier. Like while you're working, you can, message back and forth. However, I guess it just goes into the cloud. And so once it goes into the cloud, so those KakaoTalk messages that they thought that, they were hatching a plot, scheming and everything, they thought that maybe that was outside of the technology monitoring of HYBE, and it wasn't. Now, where the smart play was that the YouTuber and freelance entertainment journalist Lee Ho released a lot of the information from the evidence that HYBE presented to the court. So that was a way for HYBE, because I think they gave the information to this YouTuber, and because it was more than what normal people can get just from the public information. And so the reason why I think that was smart was essentially that's a way to announce to the public all this information about shamans and fat shaming and takeover plots without having to do the whole official press conference. Because for some reason, HYBE is being very conservative about that, I think, and they're trying to be a little bit more classy, and I think with a lot more scrutiny now that they have conglomerate status. I think that they are being a lot more careful. So I thought this was a real smart way to get all that shady information out there and have it have immediate legitimacy, because if you do trust that this YouTuber got the accurate, real information, which he probably did, because he said that it's submitted by court, it's essentially HYBE making the statements publicly. And among these documents, we had a statement by Chairman Si-hyuk, who called Min Hee-jin a malicious individual. Malicious. And people are just like, oh, he's being really polite. What this reminded me of was, Viola Davis, when she did that scene as the domestic help in The Help, the movie, and she's telling the little girl like affirmations because the little girl's mom seemed to be like an, absent, neglectful, maybe even abusive mom. And then she's saying, you is smart, you is kind, you is important. And I couldn't get it out of my head when Si-hyuk said that she's malicious. So I just thought like that somebody in their childhood might have heard, you is tricky, you is malicious, you is replaceable. Maybe not in her childhood, but definitely if I saw her, I would say, you is tricky, you is malicious, you is replaceable. And I think it was smart for HYBE to cover all of its bases and do a bit of this indirect communication with the public, knowing that not everything will fit the legal question or the argument, because apparently the judge even said like, okay, well, can we take that out because it's not necessarily relevant to the legal question. And I think that is something that people need to realize, is that when it goes to court, you can't always just say, oh, I want to wait for what the court decides, because the court is not going to look at the totality of the situation. They're looking at essentially the potential legal question. The legal question here is not whether, Min Hee-jin is a bad person, whether she is malicious, whether she is tricky, whether she is replaceable. They're just looking at, does she have the right to have an injunction placed against HYBE? Basically to prevent HYBE from firing her. And not only that, it's a question of, do they have evidence that fits not what you feel, not what I feel, not what Min Hee-jin feels, not what HYBE feels, but essentially what is already written in the law. And so sometimes the law is just very not capable of having to deal with these types of situations. I think we're going to see this if really the government really moves forward. And this is a little bit weird how there was an announcement saying that there's going to be a new government commission to copyright dance moves. Okay, on the one hand, that is absolutely ridiculous, and they're going to find that it is almost impossible to be able to do that type of law. So you start to see like where the limits of the law are, because then all of K-pop is just going to be like still. There'll be no more dancing because they're going to be like, you perform up there on stage, you stay still, otherwise Vintage Jeans is going to sue us. But then we might have a lot more singing talent. Maybe all of K-pop is going to turn into like Adele. But on the other hand, I think this is what lawmakers should be doing, is refining conflicts in the real world and make it be more mirrored in the legal world. And so we want to have continuous real world input into the legal world, because the legal world, it exists on paper and it's basically like a matrix simulation. And so if you don't have any kind of laws that trigger, then basically you could do whatever you want. So if we didn't have laws for like offing somebody else, then no matter how wrong we think it is in the legal world, it wouldn't exist. So that's why they put it in there. And now that we're seeing how each side is presenting its case in the court of law, I'm even more upset with Min Hee-jin. I think she is shady because I do see very much a reminder of how I personally interacted with a shady company. And when you really have no big case, you trump up the one thing or very few things that you can, and you sing it out loud, and then you start throwing in lots of other unnecessary accusations that the other side has to, then they feel that they have to defend against. However, what they're not doing, what that prevents, is from HYBE saying very much its strong points very loud, simply, and clearly, which is essentially like she's accused of embezzlement, she's accused of meeting with investors, she's accused of stealing new jeans, she's accused of all of these things that start to go away from our mind because we're thinking about her ridiculous one note thing. And so, they're saying if you can't sing, then you kind of talk through your song, and then you have that one note you can sing real loud and you go, so you make sure your song always has that one note where you're like, and then people really gravitate towards that. And I think the judges gravitate towards that because you want to make it as easy for them to create a very strong written decision so that they look good and they can get promoted. Remember, the court is not for you, it's not for me, it's not for justice, it's not for plaintiff defendant. The court is for the judge and their careers and for how well that they can live their lives and feed their family. So some of you have been asking, how is she paying for her legal fees? It seems like she is fronting it herself so far. With what money? Apparently, this YouTuber has basically uncovered and confirmed that the money that she borrowed was not $1 to $2 million for just a share. She borrowed over $3 million from someone, maybe Chairman Bang. Most likely Chairman Bang. Can you imagine you loan somebody money and then they use that money to get lawyers to sue you? That is just such betrayal. Okay, so some of the messages that we got. Remember the whole question about this is whether they should have an injunction placed against HYBE or not in order to fire Min Hee-jin. But in the documents that came up, whoa, all right. It's obvious that HYBE was also waging a war on public opinion as well. But at the same time, I would say that everything that they submitted that would really sway public opinion really does apply to in terms of like whether she has good governance and whether she would be guilty of breach of trust. And so she's went out into that whole big media conference and she said that she is a fighter for women, and people loved seeing her as like the employee who has no power, and especially from a woman's perspective, even more disempowered and fighting against the male patriarchy. However, reality, guys, reality, and a lot of you already saw through this, but now we have actual real evidence. She literally said, "This is why I dislike working with the B word. They suck at the F word working. All they do is complain. They can't be bothered to do anything. They're lazy, tired, irresponsible. Seriously, I'm a girl, but I hate girls." That's what she said. She said they're shallow, all they like to do is talk, they're frivolous about their work and don't care about it, they're narrow-visioned. She sounds like a misogynist, patriarchal, like what you would consider a bad male disrespecting women. This is her in her own words. And then the last line in this example is, "They can't work like I do for the life of them, but they envy me." The effing B words. Now, how would she respond if there was a sexual harassment complaint at ADOR? If she's such the motherly figure, protector, and the champion for women's rights, you would think that she would be protective. No, not only that. When there was a sexual harassment complaint against her right-hand man, her response was, "Die effing B word." Okay, so, there's loving mothers and there are abusive mothers. And how did Miss Min Hee-jin present herself in the press conference? That she was the sacrificing, doting mother to New Jeans. Not the way that she talked to her VP, the one that, had the sexual harassment claim against him. She said that the girls should always be humble, or essentially don't put on airs, because they're getting popular, and it sounded like these girls were traipsing around the HYBE and the 16th floor like they were, a whole bag of chips and more. And she said, well, these girls need to act humble, and we're basically making them popular. They're not making themselves popular, even if they get fat like pigs. So she's body shaming them, fat shaming them. And that whole drama about, the chairman didn't say hi to us back. First of all, it was only apparently one of the girls who said that she didn't get hi back. So that's already shady right there. But apparently it looks like Miss Min Hee-jin is the one that's overly sensitive. So she said, they think that they're all that, but if they do not greet me, I think I'll murder them. She's just very much into offing. And she said that, if they think that they're also high and mighty, if they're getting full of themselves, which I wonder why, who made that happen, who spoiled them for them to act that way. And she's mad that spoil your kids, and then your kids act spoiled to you, you're gonna kill them? Very weird. And of course, if we needed any confirmation that she takes the credit for New Jeans, she alone is the reason why New Jeans is so popular. She said they didn't get popular because of their own efforts. It was her. She derides them. She talks about them behind their backs, saying, what would they know? All they do is look in the mirror. Ha 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 ha. And if you're a bunny, if you are a fan, if you are standing New Jeans without any kind of discernment, well, you're not safe either, because she literally called you fat and stupid. She said, "Damn children getting scolded because they can't even lose weight." A more accurate translation would be these, whatever bad word you want to say, school children can't even lose a pound. No wonder they get bullied. Now, did she say anything specifically about a New Jeans member, about their weight? Oh, yes, she did. But the name was redacted, so we don't know which one. But in the messages, it says, wow, she, whoever she is a effing fat butt F word. Oh, and then she also called the fans brain dead children. Okay, so that's a bit of the court of public opinion stuff. But what we also saw is that HYBE said that there were so many messages that they found between Min Hee-jin and her shaman, like tens of thousands, about like 58,000 messages over the past 6 months. And not only that, she called her shaman by the name of her dead sister, because she thinks the spirit of her dead sister is in the shaman. How creepy is that? And then apparently the shaman, I think, was just saying like, okay, this is getting a little bit too much. I'm busy, I'm booked, for the next year and a half. And she said the shaman told Min Hee-jin to hire somebody, not to do work, but just to embody the spirit of her sister so that she would have her dead sister around her at work, I guess to comfort her or something. And there were steps made in that direction to try to hire somebody who really had no relevant experience to a music label, just so that she could embody the spirit of her dead sister on the 16th floor. So her sister must have had some strange trauma on her life. I'll leave that for somebody else to try to dig into. But that really does start to show that, okay, that I would say is like half public opinion, media play, and half the actual court case, which is, from the beginning, HYBE said that one of the people that Min Hee-jin divulged trade secrets to was her shaman, to get advice on how to run the company. And so if the shaman is making decisions on the future of ADOR and how, no, that is a complete, that would be like that's definitely a fireable offense, okay? I can't even, I don't even know how she's hung on this long. The worst one was February 4th, 2024 is 1 year before BTS comes back, which is the time when HYBE is the weakest. This is when we will end HYBE and Si-hyuk. Could it be any clearer that they already started in February to attack their parent company? And then, you know how February and March did not go according to Min Hee-jin's plan, because had it gone to plan, she would be attacking while she had the ability to take New Jeans out of the company at any moment and also get her 30x valuation, which would then bring in the investors. So she would basically have everything locked and loaded for her to steal a company and steal New Jeans and then damage all of her competitors who are supposed to be her family under HYBE. But because it didn't go her way, they changed the plans to send the first email on April 3rd and begin the attack. So all of this has already been lined up. And if you see how quickly everything has been moving on her side, obviously it's been premeditated. Then they also said there's no need to delay if we're going to move to the second stage of our plan. So just attack, because we're going to begin our PR war. April 20th, we will disregard any suggestions for mediation or improvement of our complaints. What complaints? The copying complaints. She essentially set up this whole drama where she was going to use the complaining of other groups copying her stuff. I wouldn't even be surprised if she worked with the choreographers and the whatever other teams to deliberately have them use some similar moves or styling and then say like, how are you copying me? That's totally something that would come out of this playbook. Then she said like, okay, we're going to disregard the mediation internally, and then we're going to raise the issue to the general public. Meanwhile, she's saying the exact opposite. She's like, why can't we just work this out inside the company internally? And why does HYBE have to go out to the media and disparage Min Hee-jin, ADOR, and New Jeans? Well, she basically was planning on doing exactly that against HYBE. Do you see how manipulative, how malicious she is? She said that she is not going to work it out with HYBE internally, away from the TV cameras, and she's going to go to the public to get their support. And that's all of you, not you watching probably, but you who were fooled by her. And really, she can't go on, and she couldn't have gotten this far if you in the public did not believe her, support her, and then fight her enemies. So for what? What are you actually getting from her? You gotta ask yourself that. And even if she's promising you something, because I know there's probably some people who are getting something on retainer, you're not gonna get the final payment. Most likely she's going to promise you like kind of a balloon payment at the end, like as a bonus to make sure you did your job, like a really irresistible, too good to be true offer, but it's gonna be too good to be true. Boo. So she said the best case scenario is HYBE suggesting a compromise to prevent a catastrophe. So she already knows that she's going to try to corner HYBE into a desperate situation, and that the final solution would be for HYBE to give in. And it may have worked. These tricks most likely have worked because it sounds like she has experience in this and winning in this. But I think this is the end of the road for her. And yes, I've worked with somebody like this, and I think it took almost 10 years for people in the company to finally realize and admit to themselves that they had been duped. And that, of course, nobody wants to admit that they're a fool, so they're probably still not admitting that they're a fool. But people like this can go on for quite a long time. And how? It's because people believe the manipulation, and they shame the people who are trying to protect the company. And then they call the people who are protecting the company the ones with the problem. So then there's now a lot of hoopla made about there being a petition filed with the court by the members of New Jeans. And people are just like, we don't really know exactly what's in there. It's not that big of a deal. Most likely it's just a statement that the New Jeans members wrote to support Min Hee-jin, and most likely it was drafted by the lawyers. So it's kind of like, you know, taking like almost like a witness statement, saying like, okay, you know, no, we want, and the petition part would probably be, we want to stay with Min Hee-jin. Why? Because that would try to strengthen Min Hee-jin's case that she needs to stay at ADOR, because New Jeans will only trust Min Hee-jin with their career. Oh, honey, what did we say? You is tricky, you is malicious, and you is replaceable. Once it looks like Min Hee-jin really can't continue to fight this war all on her own, the girls of New Jeans are probably going to be like, okay, we have a time window of when, you know, we can really rock it in the K-pop music industry in the world. And if we don't play along with whoever can give that to us, then it's worse for them. And people have been, I think a little bit oversensitive about like, oh my God, how can Islet be copying? Did you ever stop to think that perhaps this was a deliberate move? Yes, you might say like, oh, that makes HYBE so evil, or Si-hyuk so evil. Okay, fine. You want to have like a even discussion? I think that it was probably deliberate by HYBE. because it was a clear message, and this is the way, this is definitely Korean shade style. Instead of like confronting Min Hee-jin so deliberately head on, especially when they're probably reserving a little bit of them maybe misreading the situation, and they want to collect more evidence. Is she really that malicious? For them to basically say like, look, honey, if you want to try all these tricks on us after we've given you so much, the 16th floor, multi-million-dollar apartment for your trainees, already $5 million each, and you're trying to pull this on us, let us prove, as the power of HYBE and its multi-label system, that whatever you think you can do, Min Hee-jin, you is replaceable, and so, unfortunately, is your group. And here is we barely even put on any kind of like pixie dust on eyelet, and boom, they can really take your genre in a second. It's the civil way of having, a family argument. But in this case, one of your family members is... So apparently there's even more from Friday's hearing that we have not yet seen. The entertainment reporter Lee Jin-ho said that he only released half of the information that he got. Okay? Just half. So we ain't even done with Friday's update, y'all. What do you guys think? Put your comments below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And stream all of the HYBE sub-label music artists that you support to put some positivity on all of this. All right, guys. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.